Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Why is everybody sitting so very far? They don't bite. Okay. Good afternoon. Okay, could be louder. Good afternoon again. Okay, very good. So, post lunch, I know could be a little drowsy, but we'll try to keep you as entertained as possible. We have a great set of panelists here. Okay, I'm still seeing if there are more people coming. The flow is going on. Okay, fine. Okay, anyway, let's get started, guys. I think we have a very interesting session to talk about. I think, since morning we have been hearing right from the keynote session how customer experience is being looked upon. I think, and it is one of the most talked about agenda today in boardrooms, and that's how critical it is. And we have around 58 minutes, I see. So we'll try to do the max in this 58 minutes. And I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, Rai, for having me, and thank you all the great panelists here. So as you see, I think there has been a great shift in the last 2 years, particularly during the pandemic period. A lot of shift has happened in terms of customer behavior, and a lot of consumers have moved to the digital, and probably some are coming back onto physical, and I think that it's a big shift that we are seeing and going to see. And to that extent, every possible, whether it is a retailer out there who are direct to the customer or otherwise, even everybody is trying to look at saying that how customers perceive their brands, their merchandise, their offerings. So that's how crucial it is in terms of delivering customer experience in today's day. And it is said that the brands which connect to consumers on an emotional level probably have a better propensity or better possibility of as much as 80 to 85% higher probability of being profitable as compared to their competitors. So it's a big topic, and I'm delighted to have this great panel. So without further ado, let's get started. What I would do is, these are all very distinguished gentlemen and lady. So I would probably leave them to probably introduce themselves, probably a quick 1-minute intro. And also if you can talk about what is that one element or some trend that you have seen in terms of customer behavior in the last 24 months, which is probably either very, very, in your own ways, you see that it is very, very surprising or something that is beyond your assumption. So let me start with the one who probably has a lot of visibility across data globally, and a man from Google, Gaurav. Please, we'll start with you. No, the mic is not working. Can you please check? Or probably try the other mic.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Anil, and again, welcome everyone. My name is Gaurav Juneja. I head digitization for Google in India. What that means is that we work with customers or advertisers, across all sectors, whether it is retail, CPG, BFSI, and my team's mandate is to help them set up omni-channel journeys, so that whether the customer is shopping or engaging with them online or offline, they are able to provide them the best possible experience. So from that point of view, it's an extremely relevant session for us, and we are working very closely with our customers. To Anil's point, as we look, and before this, for the last 7 years, I was an entrepreneur. I was running a startup, StarQuik, along with my co-founder, who by chance is sitting right next to me. Have an experience as a retailer as well as on the other side. So, what's the big insight? We've seen that the companies which provide the best possible customer experience, they go by some guiding principles. Number one, they think omni-channel. They're not just thinking in the store, and they're not just thinking online. They are thinking, how do they combine that world? So if I am an auto dealer, or if I'm an auto OEM, Maruti, I know the customer who has engaged with me online, I either with my website or with my YouTube video or with my ad, and then they have booked a test drive, then they have walked into a store. So from that point of view, I would look at an omni-channel experience. That's number one. Number two, they do not look at just the point of purchase. So they are mapping the customer's journey from when the customer is a prospect to a suspect, and then finally a customer. So from that point of view, again, at each point, they are saying that how do I control the customer experience basis the expectations of the customer as to where they are in that journey. So that's second. The other and the third thing that I want to leave here is that their guiding principle is that how can I not be reactive, but more in terms of, how can I be predictive as to, okay, this is the point where the customer is in their journey and these are the needs. So how do I proactively address them? So again, omni-channel, tracking them through the journey, and then, being more predictive than, reactive. So those are the things that sort of stand out for us.
Anything in terms of customer behavior that you tracked, which you feel saying that it is extremely surprising, or anything that has beaten your expectation?
Yeah, so the experience at StarQuik, and again, I'm talking about the customer journey of, let's say customer support, right? There we've seen that whole preference for talking to an agent, that has now completely moved to self-service. The ability to, we saw that of the tickets that we were getting, from customer support, we saw that almost 70-75% of the customers, they were actually choosing to chat rather than have an agent call them back. So, that Autobot was able to take care of 70-75% of the queries, and we are seeing that more and more now. And, with what we are doing with, our product, which is Google My Business, the idea is to take that conversation, beyond that use case of just support. So all the way from generating leads to conversion to support. How do we cover that entire life cycle by way of that conversational commerce?
Yeah, I think it's said that whatever has happened in terms of digital transformation over the last many years, I think that entire probably got shortcut in 24 months because most of the organizations had to adopt because the customers were becoming more digital savvy. So with that, Radha, I think if you were to talk about your experience, or again, what is that you have seen in terms of change, because running a large chain of stores with essentials and then going through that entire phase of 24 months or 12 months probably, where stores had to be shut for some time and then again you opened and delivering essentials. What have you seen in terms of behavior? And first of all, probably a little bit about yourself and then talk about this behavior.
Radhakrishnan is my name. I run the StarQuik operation. StarQuik is an online grocery delivery system which works on top of the Star Bazaar stores. So wherever there are Star Bazaar stores, within 5 to 8 kilometers, we do delivery to the customer. We don't cover all the pin codes in the city because it depends on where the Star Bazaar store is. So this is a bolt-on model, and probably I'll start from there, why it is a bolt-on model. Because it is the belief that, omni-channel is the way to go. One way or the other, the online guys are becoming offline, and offline is becoming online. I've been in this, I've probably 3 decades into the grocery business. Nothing seems to actually change. I remember way back in 1999 when Ravi Nigam launched Tasty Bite. He said, give it some 3 years and all the shelves will become ready to eat. Nothing actually happened. People didn't convert to ready to eat. People still love to cook in India 3 times a day. So we have help at home, and thank God for that. I mean, we eat good food. So things didn't change till actually COVID happened. In a manner of speaking, the COVID reference is almost like a cliche today. But it is inevitable that we have to mention it. That what should have happened in about 5-6 years happened in about 5-6 months. And what's even more surprising is that after COVID was over, they actually stayed. Our cohorts of old customers over the last 5 years that this company has been running has never been stronger except in the last 1.5 years, has got stronger and stronger. The kind of numbers we have in terms of old customer cohorts is probably world class. it's difficult to imagine that you can retain 75% of your customers in the first 3 months and 60% of them after 6 months. These are all good numbers, right? So therefore, and it is not as if we're throwing a lot of customers. And in that context, what has become very clear to us is that, and in India, and we said this in our private chat outside, if you were to take all the service companies and any service that you use, whether it's railways or airlines or buying a shoe or doing whatever, I believe in India, no company is scoring more than 6 out of 10 in good service. The good service definition in India needs to be redefined. Just giving basically what you're saying is in itself the biggest obstacle to cover, not because the companies don't want to do it. The external environment is so challenging that you can't be consistent every time. Let me give you an example. In the month of March, the average speed in Andheri West was something like 28 kilometers per hour. This month it is 16 kilometers per hour. What does it mean? You need twice the number of vehicles to deliver products on time. And what does it do to the cost? And therefore, the problem in this country is that the public service outside your home, right, you have almost no control on the service that you're delivering. Therefore, that I think is the biggest challenge. You don't need to surprise people. Just stop shocking them with what you promise.
Thanks, Radha. I think, strong words. I think we'll also deal with that other question about right now, kind of a trend that is setting in. But before that, probably let's go to Parsharan. So, Medkart, it has, even in my own understanding, I felt that it is an online company, but I realized that it is more offline than online, but you have an online channel. So, talk us a little bit about your role and also about a little bit about Medkart and what is that you have seen in terms of customer behavior change.
Okay. I think gentlemen sitting to my right, they're established and stalwarts in their own means. So basically understanding of their business is very easy. We are into pharma retail primarily, and close to 95% of it comes from retail and 5% of it is online. This industry has been existing for donkey's years, but there's a certain way in which a consumer behavior happens. So there's a doctor who's writing a prescription, you take the prescription to the pharmacist, he just gives you the medicine or tells you the medicine is not there and the transaction is over. Whereas most of the value is what is not happening in this transaction is the education and substitution. So basically if you look at all of the developed economies like US, UK, Europe or wherever, close to 80-85% of the medicines that are being consumed are generic medicines. Whereas in our country, this is an abysmal 6%. I don't even want to talk about the kind of reports that came out last week about Dolo or maybe the kind of lobbying that exists in the country, but then that's a topic for some other day. What we are trying to do here is maybe empower that chronic patient about medicines, educate him about the molecule that he is taking, make him aware of maybe the hundreds of options that are available. Maybe all of these top companies like Cipla, Zydus, Cadila, Intas, Lupin, each one has a generic equivalent of the same molecule. And our research is to ensure that he ends up getting close to 60 to 70% discount on the medicine that he's consuming. So basically he's dependent on that medicine, but he doesn't exercise or doesn't feel empowered enough to talk about a medicine. There's a very unsaid, it's discomfort in our country to talk about medicines. Even if you are chronically ill, you don't end up talking about it. So that is the space that we are getting into. Initially, the misnomer, right? We started with the name Medkart because we thought itna hi logical hai, and if there is going to be 60% savings on medicines, people will just go search and maybe just take it. We actually fell flat face with the first month itself. We realized that nobody was actually searching a medicine. If they were searching for Crocin, they used to take up Crocin, but they never used to see if Crocin, Decol Total, Dolo 650, Saridon, Calpol, Parasip, all of these are available, and can they really get a 40 rupees strip for a 9 rupees or not? That's when we thought Medkart, the name is okay. We've registered the name and all. We don't want to go back on that. We started with a retail store, and now we've slowly mushroomed into 100 odd stores, and learning from both of them. I think, especially in their domains, especially what Google is doing versus what StarQuik is doing, we are as much as toddlers in front of them.
Anything that you have seen as a significant shift in your area, in the pharma area, which is, or people need to buy, so they will buy?
No. Very weirdly, so we also had a Paytm moment for us. in 2012 when Modi went all out about generic medicines, and now it's a law that every doctor has to write a prescription which has generic medicines in it, or maybe the formulation name on it. So that tipping point came around 12 once, and then it came around 17 again. So every election we see a spike. So we are hoping that the next election again, in a year's time, we'll see another small tick in our business. But yeah, the biggest awareness campaigns, we are, as an industry, only 6% of the whole pharma consumption is generics. So whatever noise we try to make, there are far bigger noise makers. So only if government stands up for this cause is when probably there will be a greater awakening.
Okay, interesting industry and also a line of business. Let's move to Blessing. So Blessing, I think you're in the line of saloon business. So personalization is given, the experience is given. So what is the kind of shift that you're seeing? I'm sure there are a lot of nuances that are there, because there was a phase where the service is not available. I'm sure your store would have been shut and all of that. And so pre-COVID to post-COVID, is there something that you have looked at in terms of either the customer's perception or their behavior change or their preference change, and how are you adopting to this change, and also how are you influencing the customer behavior to that extent?
Thank God we are in saloon business, so customer has to come to the saloon to get the experience. And TONI&GUY, Tony Muscolo is a visionary. 50 years back, they have positioned them as a hairdressers. So for a haircut, definitely you have to come to a salon. And 70% of our business is coming from our hair services. So even the at-home services, they are providing more of skin services. But to a TONI&GUY salon, we are getting 70% of business from hair. And 60 to 70% of men is spending more. So TONI&GUY appeals to a lot of men as well as the women, and we are in a right space. This experience can be given only in salon, the hair services. And pre-COVID, we are doing better than pre-COVID actually, because people they call it as they have given a name, they coined a name as a revenge shopping, but we are really seeing that after COVID, actually people really want to come out and they want to experience that saloon experience. So in saloon space, actually we have we are performing better than the pre-COVID stage. And what we those days actually there is a concern that we should provide the 5-star experience. In the every touch point, the people were looking at those kind of experiences. But after COVID, people are okay with if you provide some if you are not up to the mark also, they are okay. But they want to bring to our notice, and they want them to hear, and they want us to correct those take the feedback seriously, and they want us to do the course correction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think for all the people who are rooting for physical store business, there could not be better case study or example, because I think if you have to get the best experience, come to the store, and that's what I think results there. So there's a slightly different question for you. Of course, you can introduce your company and then what you do, but see, when you talk about customer experience, to me it has 3 aspects to it. One is in terms of how do you discover your customer, how do you engage with the customer, and then how do you deliver that experience. So you are in the space of loyalty, and so what is the change that you have seen, and how are you helping in these 3 aspects? Sure. So I'll come to Anila also with the same question. So yeah, good.
Hi, I'm Tejas Kadakia, co-founder of Easy Rewards. We've been in business for the last 10 years, in fact, helping deliver customer experiences for the brands at an omni-channel level. Exactly what Gaurav, in fact, what Gaurav has given as an example is something which we're doing for brands for the last decade across the ecosystem, right from retail, healthcare, and banking. Obviously, retail has been our core focus. And what has changed pre-COVID and post-COVID? Pre-COVID, I had to go to the brand and tell them that customer experience is very critical. Post-COVID, the brands have come to us saying that customer experience kya hai, bata do. Right? So I think...
Are they still asking customer experience kya hai, bata do?
I think customer experience, unko pata hai ki customer experience deliver karna hai, but how to deliver is something where they've been, now they've not coming to what you are doing. Now they are more into the concept of how do you get it done correctly, right? And I think that's a good change for us. So that's one big change in the way the retail has started behaving with us. They understand that the brands which have focused on doing customer experience have been able to sail through pretty well in the COVID period because they had an understanding of what the customer is doing. They were able to replicate that at an omni-channel level. And that's the experience which we've been able to deliver for brands cumulatively. Your question on what we're doing in the three spaces, we as a company work on all the three factors, right from discovery, so who the customer is. Then a loyalty program is a bad word. Everybody says loyalty programs don't work. But frankly speaking, across retail, the only way to capture data consistently is through a program, right? And there is no other reason why a retailer, a customer will give data unless you give something back to them. And that's where a loyalty program comes into the picture, specifically in the offline world. We deal with 95% of brands which are pure offline. Now have become an omni-channel. Though we've been saying for the last 10 years that omni-channel is the big thing. But I think now it's really playing it out well because of COVID. Brands were forced to go online. One thing we saw in COVID was that the spike on the online business from the 3 or 4% had spiked to about 8 to 11%. What now we are seeing is back to that 3 to 5%, and 95% of the business is still offline for most brands which we work with. As I was telling you when we were talking, is that in India, shopping is an experience, right? And people do it as an entertainment because there is no other entertainment in India beyond shopping and malls, right? So people love going, and the touch and feel, etc. So that's why I think offline retail will sustain in that way. So the three parts I was saying: discovering on who the customer is. A loyalty program enables the brand to discover the customer. Now the engagement portion is beyond loyalty. That's where the data comes into the picture, that if you are able to capture, like what Gaurav is saying, that an omni-channel level, what the customer is doing beyond transactions also, so taking a feedback, getting to understand what the customer is doing on social media, getting to understand the customer, what they're doing on the store or on their website. That data, if that creates a single view of that customer, you create that memes and then you engage with the customer at all channels, right? So where we say that though everyone says SMS is dead, I don't believe SMS is dead. We today manage over 220 million customers odd across all the brands. SMS is still function. India, prefers looking for that offer on that SMS. But you have to be prudent enough that the customer has started moving across channels. So you make sure that you're engaging with the customer across all channels, right? So be it an SMS, email, WhatsApp, Google, your online, Facebook, Insta, right? So those channels become critical for you to start engaging. And then using that eventually to be able to save money. So instead of you trying to do and spray and pray, that, hey, you have 1 million customers, send out a campaign to all. The good thing which brands have started asking is, how do I save money by not sending out a campaign to all 1 million customers, right? And that's what we've been able to deliver from a brand.
I'm sure Anila will have a lot of things to add on to that.
But yeah, that's the core point on what we've seen as a change across.
Yeah, let's first go to Arnab. Arnab, you are in a business where you, any which ways, delight customers with every single spoon that you feed them. So what does customer experience mean to you? And what is the shift that you have seen in your business in the last 24? So Arnab, by the way, manages business for Baskin and Robbins. I'm sure, I don't know whether they served Baskin and Robbins here or what did they serve for the dessert here, but please, can you tell us what is that change that you have seen in your customer experience? Can somebody please check the mic or, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, that's working.
So, my name is Arnab. I head the Baskin Robbins business in the Parlour channel. We have close to 750 odd stores, which we call parlors, and we have close to 100 dark kitchens. I think, although I hate mathematics, I will begin with a mathematical formula that for a customer experience, I think customer experience is nothing but performance divided by the price. If the performance of my store is higher than the price of what the customer pays for, then there's a positive outcome to this. I think what has changed in this COVID scenario is that the customer has become very, very conscious in terms of how do I ensure that there is a sense of hygiene in the store. When COVID happened, one of the first things which was surprising to us is that first we thought that, oh God, we have to start from scratch now, the business is gone. But all the franchisees, they kind of, they survived because the online business was so strong. And since there was this work from home and people were together, so there was a good amount of ice cream consumption which we had not thought about. Okay, so that was one positive sign. One of the challenges was how do I bring back those customers to my store once the COVID first phase was over. So we did a lot of confidence building measures, okay, in which we wanted the customer to see that yes, these are the things which we are trying to do to safeguard. So one of the things which we did was the counter shield, okay, so that our staff is talking over that particular, there's a kind of a external shield. We did something called as the UV light. So each order we send, we kind of ensured that the pack was sent through this UV light. We did this hand sanitizers. So although they were very small things, but they were all confidence building measures. And that is how suddenly, and I would agree that with one of the panelists when he said that, the sales have been much better than what it was pre-COVID. Yes, it is true. And as people say, that it's a kind of a revenge shopping which customers are doing, or revenge holidays which customers are taking. So I think the business now is much brighter for a lot of sectors.
That's very positive you hear when somebody says that my business is much better than what it was pre-COVID. And yeah, with that, probably let's come to Anila. I think you have an interesting proposition in terms of how you enable probably the emerging customer expectations. So do you want to talk about first about yourself and then the business, and also how you are solving the problem?
Hi everyone, my name is Anila Rao. I'm the VP of Asia Pacific at Haptik. So we are a leading conversational AI platform. So we build AI chatbots that get deployed on multiple social channels like WhatsApp and Google Business Messages, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, right? And the true value proposition over here is this accessibility that we talk about is you're sitting on your phone all day, right? Like it's like the shop is in your hand. You're making it so accessible. So it's not only that you're downloading apps of these companies, but you're on Instagram, you're on Snapchat. So there's so much access that you can easily shop and very instantly shop, right? So this availability is something that we're making sure is there for each and every brand. And the example I love giving is that of JioMart, right? For a company of its scale, the fact that it's doing almost 30-40% of its business on WhatsApp, now that's tremendous. And it's hitting all tier 2, tier 3, like just everybody, all demographics, no age barrier whatsoever, right? So when you talk about the whole, change in the last 24 months, there was actually a joke going around which said, who was responsible for digitization at your company? Was it the CEO, the Chief Digital Officer, or COVID-19? And everyone was like, COVID-19 was actually responsible for complete digitization, right? And the big change, I think, for me was that this constant shopping has really gone up. If you think about how often you used to shop, even for the smallest of like groceries or buying like a chips packet, right? I think nowadays people do it almost 1-2 times a day. How often have you gone to a grocery store 2 times if you went to a physical store, right? But here you're like click, click, click with, so it's just, it's gone through the roof in terms of how easy, accessible it is, which is great, right? It's really helping the businesses and improving CX to such extreme proportions.
Yeah, thanks. I think, from expectations are growing. That is something that is obviously coming across everybody's experience if you look at it. One is that, yes, the retailers or all the business houses have tried to meet up to the expectations of the customer, growing expectations of the customer. At the same time, I think the customer expectations are still far too very growing. So I wanted to ask this question to Radha. I think when you look at your business, obviously, omni-channel has been as a buzzword in the industry for quite some time. Everyone was trying to do, saying that, okay, first from offline to online, and then trying to create this cross-channel seamlessness, omni-channel. Now this entire tendency or the trend that has come in, saying that right now, I want it right now, and I want it within 10 minutes delivery. And that's what probably she was also trying to talk about, saying that it is so very easy that customers will expect more and more. How do you see this entire phenomenon? Is it something because it's a customers are demanding it more and more, and it is going to be a long-term tendency, or how do you see this?
So this, the two things that is happening is time and discount, right? Both of which are saving something. Obviously, the 10-minute thing is retailer-driven, but it has always been there because the customer, not the entire basket, but to a certain extent would call up the local guy and he will come and deliver to your house. So that was always there, but it's not in an organized fashion, and I can't say that phone ordering to your local guy was like 20% of the total grocery business. It obviously was not. It's like a convenience, and people use it anecdotically and probably use it too much. So from a quick point of view, quick delivery point of view, I think it's one of the great paradigm shifts which has taught people like us who are in the old generation that there's another way of doing this business. And you may be critical of it to say that somebody is saying they'll deliver in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Does the customer need it? Well, if you give it, they will take it, right? But and you may criticize the 10 minutes, but I'm almost sure that the next generation of people, I can't see anyone who is today between 28 and 35 standing in line and taking 20 kilos of grocery and buying for the whole month. I think that the demographics is going to change. And what you've seen in the last maybe a century will probably change in the next 5 years. The way people are, and that's because of the demographic shift. If you're not realizing that, you're not seeing it, and you're not catering it for in your business, then I think you're losing something. So as far as time is concerned, the jury is still out. Just like some great industry leaders would sneeze at e-commerce at their own peril. And I think this is another such thing that I think you need to take into account and see where it fits into your model. If it doesn't fit, that's fine. But I think it is definitely one of the things that you must keep in mind. The other thing is discount. I actually think the Indian customer is probably one of the worst in the world because they want only price, right? They कुछ भी सस्ते में मिल जाए ठीक है अभी के लिए ठीक है. But I think we are so price driven because we have come out from several decades of scarcity. There is always shortage of money, and the Indian famous middle class is always trying to save money somewhere or the other, but they spend it somewhere else. But so discount, there's nobody who's not a discounter anymore. But I think you need to redefine discount as being a value provider, right? So how does that work? It's really what Porter said, right? You have to become a cost leader to be a discounter. And being a discounter without being a cost leader is disastrous, right? You're only going to make more and more loss. So being a discounter is fine, but the West Side, the Q1 of West Side was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, and I was at one of the conferences the other day, and like a fly in the wall, I was listening to some garment guy speak, saying that, look at the price of Zudio and look at that Q1 balance sheet, right? It's fantastic. So that's really what we need to do. That you need to be really focused on bringing your operating cost down and give it cheaper to the customer. Nothing new. This is what Walmart has done for their $500 billion.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, but interesting comment that he made, saying that about Indian customers. So how many of the crowd agree with Radha saying that we are all kind of customer that he defined? Okay, there is a great majority of support for you in terms of what you said. Again, coming back to the entire aspect of customer experience, I mean, I understand for a long period of time when it came to retailers, the belief was that if you want to drive a better customer engagement and experience, the best way to do that, I think Tejas also probably echoed that to an extent, saying that you run a loyalty program, and that's the best way to deliver. So I wanted to understand, I think, Blessing, you run a loyalty program. So is it true, are you able to give better service because of the loyalty program, or really if there is a need for entire loyalty program or the way loyalty is run to be revolutionized, or it has to be rethought? What's your view in terms of from a customer engagement and customer experience delivery point of view?
Yeah, I agree with sir point of view. No, like if you want to get the customer data, you have to run a program. Actually, there is no other way. Otherwise, they are not willing to share their data. Actually, so getting the mobile number itself, it's a big task. People don't want bills. No, they pay the money and they just walk away. So how we will get the data? That is where actually the loyalty program comes in place. And then actually they also are happy that when you give them an incentive where we have a loyalty program, we call it as a club NV, and people deposit money with us. And in Chennai actually, I think after bank, I think the Satyam Theatre, they have more deposits. Okay. And after that only we have more deposits actually. Okay. That's ultimate loyalty is actually people depositing their money with you. That is the ultimate loyalty. And actually we give incentive to them actually. If they pay 2,500 rupees, we give 200 rupees, or if they deposit 10,000 rupees, we are giving more points to them. So by incentivizing them, though they are happy to during the COVID time and during the demonetization, you imagine what kind of transaction we would have happened. That when you give incentive and there is a solid reason, people are happy to deposit money, and the entire family, they use the card. And then actually what we do with the data. So we have the billing POS software. We capture all those data, but still the Club NV, the loyalty program gives us a macro level and micro level insight about the customer. We know actually who is our top 100 spending customers and the family. And we actually give some surprises to them, like sending them a film ticket, or inviting them for a stand-up comedy or a sports event, like that. We make use of those insights.
Okay, so this is interesting because I think this is still traditional. To me, it is still sounding very traditional in terms of saying that, okay, yes, you have a database that is created, you have some amount of customer data, and you are able to slice and dice, figure out what is the preferences. But I think when you look at today in terms of technology that is available, and particularly with Web 3.0, and the possibilities goes to the next level. So I wanted to pick Gaurav to probably get your views. So with this entire thing that is happening, Web 3.0, NFTs, and the possibilities become far bigger in terms of what you can do in the virtual world, and how the engagement can be taken to a completely different level. What's your thought about it? And also if you can talk about saying that, do you see some of the retailers are actually taking into that level from a success case story, or may not be success, but at least there are initial stories about it?
Sure. So, when you look at Web 3, 3.0, blockchain or NFTs, you've got to read under the surface. I mean, eventually these are tools, and what is it that, they will help you accomplish? Web 3 is essentially a way for the company to make the customer help co-create that experience, help them become an owner. So, and they help them do that by having the customer as part of the blockchain, by having the customer own an NFT, and as a result, they own a piece of the action. As a result, they are able to help co-create that experience. So I think when it's still early days in terms of what Web 3.2 can do, but clearly, the ability to have the customer be a more intimate and more closely involved in terms of co-creating the experience, I think that's one. Second, when it comes to, whether it is, VR, AR, right? I mean, at the moment, the customer is engaging, either on a flat screen, which is a mobile or a TV or a laptop, or in a 3D world, which is in the store. Suddenly, with the help of this, there is a way of creating a third theater where you can exchange with the, where you can engage with the customer in a far more interactive manner. And to your point around examples, we are seeing folks like, especially in the fashion beauty space, we're seeing folks, make some serious advances. I mean, Nike just this year, I mean, they've come out with the results. They made $180 million out of selling NFTs. What are they selling NFTs for? They're selling virtual sneakers. So it is a sneaker that I own, which I can then wear in the virtual world. They are creating virtual stores. They're building those experiences for the customer, which are no longer either, just 2D or 3D. So again, early days, but I think these are the things which are lifting that customer experience, which are lifting that engagement, and this is something which is then eventually going to, breed more loyalty. So when it comes to the customer, who's, exploring between an Adidas and a Nike and a Puma, clearly, Nike adds another frontier to that experience.
So I think it's also in terms of saying that how do you make the customer engage not just in terms of the new product or services that you're offering, also how can you integrate their feedback into your creations, or so to say co-create, or if there are possibilities that are there where you are taking actually customer feedback back into your manufacturing. So I feel probably there will be a lot that can happen in terms of what Web 3.0 can offer for customers to engage to that extent. But if you look at right now, even without, if we talk about normal case studies, I think probably Shane, one of the brand which is there, which is more into apparel and more, I think they have a system wherein they take a lot of, again, this adds up to the loyalty angle as well, wherein they give loyalty points, but not for purchases, but for the contribution that customers make in terms of design, co-creation of merchandise and things like that, and reviews and things like that. So it's also possible that retailers can take that, or particularly the brands can take that. So any of you have those kind of, I probably come to Baskin Robbins, means in yours is a very, very experiential product. So are you seeing that kind of thing where you're taking feedbacks from the customer and then putting it back into the product, and or particularly the ice cream that you're putting it into the stores?
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So I'll just go back to 2019. So 2019 was the year when we, for the first time, advertised on TV and all. And that was the year when, based on the customer feedback, we, see, BR is known for its chocolate flavors. That was the first year when we experimented a lot with fruit flavors. And we did exceptionally well. We continued that for 2 years, and we have now gone back to chocolates. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we have our external market research whom we rely upon. What is the voice of the customer in terms of what are the flavors they would like to see, what are the gap areas, okay? And then we launch. We are very strong in terms of our product range. Today when I'm talking, we are working for the winter range of 2024. We have a library of products, okay? So our strength lies when we are talking about customer experience, especially from a QSR sector. I think the core of our experience is the product itself. And that is something which we are proud about, and we take the feedback from the customer and we try to implement it. So I don't want to leak it out, but something which you're going to see very soon will be, do I tell? No, let me keep quiet. But one of the most important feedbacks from the customer in terms of maybe just a hint in the mithai space. Okay. So although BR we talk about chocolates, international, but there has to be a share of Indianness in it, and we are going to do that.
Okay. Anila,
and just one point I wanted to say, taking from this loyalty program, although you haven't asked me this question, but I'm tempted to talk about it. I think also what we have realized is that customers are more than the loyalty points. Customers are seeking rewards. Okay, what is that instant reward which you are going to give me for coming to your store? So we have gradually shifted from the loyalty program to the rewards program, wherein we categorize people or customers in terms of by the number of months they have come, number of times they have come in that specific period of time, and what has been their buying pattern. If their buying pattern has been in terms of buying a brownie, so we kind of induce them, poke them, you kind of get a 20%. And I agree with you, sir, that SMS is not dead. Today we kind of float all the offers through the SMS. So just leaving with the point that from loyalty to the instant reward point is something which is the change which we are seeing.
Sure. I think you brought out a good point. I think as much as everybody tries to deliver a good customer experience, how do you measure, how do you track it, and how do you ensure that you improve upon it? So first let me go to Tejas to understand saying that you are helping a lot of your customers. So are you helping this process of how to get the feedback from the customer, and how do you help the measure, creating the KPIs and measures? And then probably I'll come to Radha, probably you can talk about saying that what is that internally, how you are looking at the entire governance of customer experience.
So I think the loyalty, as I think everyone's putting, is gone beyond the point system completely. For what works for a brand does not work for another brand, right? So it does not even make sense to replicate. And the key parameters, so the second question which you were asking was on feedback. Yes, we have a product which enables brands to capture the voice of the customer across channels. And what we've done, a realization after working with these brands at an omni-channel level, at every touch point, it is very imperative for you to capture different kind of parameters. So if the customer is walking to the store, you will ask a separate set of questions as compared to a guy who has just bought a product online, right? And the measurement of both will be very different. So what we've started doing is, because we have the data of who the customer is, across and what the customer is buying, using that data, if the customer is purchasing offline frequently, the set of questions or for that customer is going to be very different from a guy who's walked into the brand for the first time. So what you will do is, when the customer is walking for the first time, you might ask, hey, tell us about the experience with the store, your store staff, was the ambience good, the standard set of questions to help you understand, has the basic standard been able to taken care. If the customer has already been a loyal customer to you, just because of the frequency, like what you were saying, or has been purchasing large quantity with you, knowing that, say, if the customer is buying, he goes to Burger King, a customer of ours, and he's buying a veg burger, after 3 burgers, you might be very specific to him to ask him that, hey, tell us about your experience of this burger itself, right? Because that can then enable you the product itself if there is a requirement.
Okay.
And there are only two kind of people who give feedbacks.
We'll come back to this in terms of what are the success that you have had.
Yeah.
But
so I'm just going to come to 2 parts.
Sure.
There are only 2 kind of people who give feedbacks, right? And one of the things which we're saying, either the person who is extremely sad or he does not like the experience at all, and the guy who loves the brand completely, right? The guy who's just going to experience it is not going to give feedback anymore, right? So normally your feedback capture is anywhere from 4 to 10%, and that will enable you to change what you need to do in the experience perspective, right? So ideally a brand intent is what we were talking, that 1 in 25 people give feedback, which is about 4%. And that, if you take into your process in terms of changing basis of what the feedback is coming in, can help you deliver a better customer experience, better product, better operations. Pretty much the whole chain can be managed pretty well if you are able to take the feedback internally, internalize it, and then output it in terms of actioning it, right? So that process has to be done pretty effectively. Yeah. The second, which I've seen, is that brands capture feedback effectively, right? I mean, they capture feedback because it's an easy thing, form bhar do and you are done. But the problem that happens is there is no action on it, right? And what companies really have to start doing is to create a process of managing that feedback effectively.
So right. just to paraphrase what Tejas is saying, it's a research, it is available in terms of statistics, is that 1 out of 26 dissatisfied customer actually bothers to give a negative feedback to the system that it is there. The remaining 25 remain frustrated, or probably they change brands, or they probably move out. And similarly, one out of 3 loyal customer who probably is a loyal customer shopping continuously, but one bad experience and they will move out. So that's how critical it is. So I mean, yeah. I actually, the question was to Radha, but quickly.
So I
if
just
you
have
can
one
Gaurav,
point
yeah.
to make link to what Tejas was saying.
Right.
While companies are collecting a lot of active feedback, companies who really do well, they're the ones who are also listening to passive feedback. Yeah. So what is passive feedback? I interacted with the website, walked into a store but did not buy. Right now, first of all, I need to have the systems to have visibility of the, out of the 100 customers, 90 of them, walked into my store, did not buy. How do I capture that? And once you build that system and you're able to listen to that passive feedback, then I think you can interact a lot more. So
I think
it is much easier with online, clearly, but now we are seeing, even customers in the offline space, and I'm taking examples of, in the auto dealership space, where clearly the life cycle is I explore the product, I would book a test ride, come to a dealership, maybe take a test ride, and after that, so, at what point I'm dropping off, as long as I'm able to capture, and then action on that, because that is, far more valuable feedback than the customer filling up a form. So, the 2.0 of this, is the ability to set up these passive feedback listening tools.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. When it comes to online, probably you are able to track. I was sitting in the first half also. I think the panel discussions were dealing with the same question, same problem. But it's changing. Even in the offline space, I think there are systems now. Rather from a governance and from an internal practice standpoint.
So from my response is always biased towards grocery. That is the lowest kind of margin business, and therefore please take it with a pinch of salt. And Tejas, I need to learn from you. I have a feeling that this whole loyalty program is not tenable, in the sense that the largest company in the world, which is Walmart, doesn't have a loyalty program. One of the largest grocery companies in India, DMart, does not have a loyalty program. If you do what you're saying, you don't need to have a loyalty program. And like Blessing is saying, he may run a loyalty program to collect some data for the customer. That is valid. But can a loyalty program run your business profitably? Not possible. What Gaurav is saying is exactly right. Every day we get lakhs of people who come to my site. If you are not analyzing what the customer is doing on your site, why is he bouncing off the second page? Why is he bouncing off L3? If you're not analyzing that, you're losing the biggest analysis without spending money. You spend money to bring the customer. If you spend money in analyzing it, it's far more important to do that than actually give money for loyalty. Because if your basic service is wrong, then bringing a customer in only does more harm to you than good. Yeah. So I think this whole thing about loyalty program, not a great fan. Because I'm in grocery, in America there are many loyalty programs because they charge the customers too much.
But if you want to talk about how you are internally tracking, what are the KPIs that you track? But I think CSAT and NPS are standards, but anything beyond that you're doing?
Oh, there are so many. Abandoned carts, average bill value movement, the customers' recency, frequency and average bill values, we have classified customers into 11 buckets. Has he moved from being a loyal to potential champion? And is the guy going to be absent in the next 2 months? Is he going to vanish? I think that tracking is more important. But actually, we can't play God with data. It's too complicated for the human mind. And if you give it to a machine, then the machine will rule your life. You don't know what the machine is saying. It is better you give the kind of service that you promise. If you give, I think there is no better way of driving loyalty than that, instead of spending money on a loyalty program.
Person from your side, your standpoint in Medkart, what are the measures for tracking?
So it's been 8 years that we've been in business and close to 6 lakh customers. We haven't had a loyalty program at all. We don't capture anything apart from just the number. And as much, I would like to say that on a month-on-month, all we end up tracking is how much savings are we able to put back to the customer's pocket, because that is our biggest commitment, is that we'll give the most savings possible. So if month-on-month we are able to increase that from an MRP of 58% to 62%, and if we are able to hold the fact that at 38% of the MRP you are able to get the medicines, then customer is exactly asking for only that. undoubtedly there are other qualitative parameters like whether is he convinced, does he have the trust on the medicine, and whether our education about generic medicines is falling in place or not, whether just because we end up giving at extreme discounted rates, we have to have a projection of a modern retail. There has to be other look and feel factors which are intangibles, but then they add to the customer journey. Now those are things which we have to do, and loyalty is basically just being consistent because nobody else is doing that exactly in the country. So even if I look at somebody like national chains or maybe even the largest of the players, availability of medicines, just to give you an idea, there are close to 1.25 lakh SKUs in the country of medicines, and these are split across only 2,500 molecules. So we are talking about maybe 700-800 molecules of the top 100, 700-800 brands of the top 100 molecules. So it's impossible to stock all of them. There's no way that a doctor's prescription gets fulfilled to 100% even in largest of players like MedPlus or Apollos of the world. So basically your game is consistency. Your game is whether are you able to fulfill exactly what he wants, and what you commit is what you deliver or not. So I'm somewhere there, but then my tech team is out to convince me. So I've connected them to him also. Maybe I'll change my stand in a month's time. But then I feel even we are out there in the green field and don't exactly know whether loyalty adds up, or is it just about standing up there and delivering exactly what you've committed to.
So what I'm hearing is, let Blessing add.
So just I saw our startup and I got this insight. Even I am test driving the extra. You might have seen the stall extra. So the founder is here. So to getting the feedback actually is the biggest task. No, like if you don't get the feedback from the customer, they go and write in the social media. Then after that actually we have to put a lot of tools to listen that, and we have to come out and we have to go behind them and we have to ask them to remove all those postings, no reviews. It is a big task. So how to capture the feedback? No, like they have come with, the extra has come up with a nice tool.
Okay.
So before the customer goes, ask them to give a feedback in our own platform and incentivize them. They are sending bundles of gift vouchers. So capture here, otherwise actually they will go and write in social media and Google reviews. So that's a great idea actually, and extra is there. You have to, they are from Chennai, and you have to explore it.
So
and Casa.
Yeah,
and also Casa is
I'm
once
just sensitive of the time, so
yeah,
we'll take.
Yeah, once.
So I'll just summarize what I heard is that don't overpromise. Deliver the basic services or the services that you are committing, but make sure that it is seamless, it is frictionless, and go after, as a mission, go after those areas where you can find frictions and solve them, and that will probably be your priority in terms of what you should be doing in terms of customer experience. So I see that we are just left with 2 minutes, so probably we can take 1 or 2 questions for the panel. If there are, there are quite a few questions, but is there a mic around that we can, or?
Hi, thank you. I think one of the points that I really agree with is regarding the loyalty program. I think loyalty program today is pitched as anything except for, engaging and increasing customer loyalty. And I'm going to give a very customer-centric perspective, right? Some of the brands that I enjoy the most are because of the experience that I get. And I'm talking about someone like a Netflix, someone like an Amazon, or some of the best restaurants, some of the legendary restaurants, someone like a Corporate Chimney. Because when I go, they already know me as a customer, and the experience is something that makes me keep going back. So if you had to work on loyalty today, and make sure that your customers are your customers for the next 10 years, what would you do apart from a loyalty program?
The question is to?
The question is open to all. I think the gentleman from Star Bazaar, I could connect with you as a customer, so thanks a lot for pointing that out.
But he already said that he doesn't believe in loyalty programs.
No, so what I'm trying to say is that what is that one thing that you would do for customer experience to increase customer loyalty apart from a loyalty program today?
Yeah.
And this is an honest customer, not pitching anything, nothing. I'm just curious.
Radha?
No, I think you have to, if you've done everything that you can do and the customer is happy with the basic service, then you can look at, you can actually do that. You can have a method of personalizing his business or his search. So in my business, if there is a non-veg eater, I'm a non-veg eater, but if the offer is only on oil, but I'm on a keto diet. So then you need to know that it's better giving me some discounts on my non-veg rather than on the oil, and therefore you can drive better loyalty. Personalization is one, but it has to happen only after you've delivered the basic as per your promise. If you've done that, then I don't think you will even need a loyalty program. You don't need to do much else.
Keep it
I
short,
think,
guys,
if
because
you don't mind,
I'm already got reminded saying that, okay, we are out of time.
Just for your thing, right? I mean, you just said copper chimney knows what you eat, right? Or a brand knows. Just to give you, not against or for, technically a program which you run is a mechanics to capture what you like. And then that experience can only come once I know about it, right? And technically any program which you run enables us to capture that data. So if you go to Copper Chimney and when they take your mobile number, even if they don't run a loyalty program, they're capturing that data for them to understand that do you like the chola bhature there or not, right? And then next time when you walk back, that data is shown to them saying that what you've eaten before, right? And that's the way the experience can be delivered, right? Obviously, as long as the product is right, a loyalty program is only is just a topping at the top of it, right? If the product is wrong, there is no program in the world which will ever help you deliver the customer to come back at all. Okay, but it is an engagement channel to make that happen. That's all.
Keep it, but we'll take 2 more questions, guys. We'll take 2 more questions. Please keep it short.
My question is to Radhakrishnan sir. Earlier you mentioned Potter and Walmart that there's no discounter without being a cost leader. But it's a trade-off. Whenever you try to do cost cutting, it's a trade-off between cost cutting or customer experience. So where do you draw the line that, okay, this is where I need to stop, or this is where I need to more focus on cost cutting or experience? Should we follow standard industry procedures? Okay, this percentage of sales should go to employee expense or other operating expenses. So how do we decide there?
I think cost cutting has nothing to do with anything else. You must cut cost anyway. Whether you're making money, not making money, whatever it is, every year you have to reduce. Whatever is the inflation that you have, that much cost you have to reduce. And that cost reduction is not about getting rid of people, not about reducing the number of vans or bikes that you have. It must come from higher productivity. From every person, if he's doing 10, next year he has got to do 16, he's got to do 20, and you must use technology for that. And in my own life, it's really played out well, where productivity is a method of doing cost. Everything else depends upon the journey that the customer follows, whether it's in the store or on the site, how that navigation that you build, the UI, UX, if you build that really well and intuitively, and this is where companies like Google do so well in terms of understanding what you're actually, where you're going and what you're trying to do. I think to be intuitive there is actually excellent. Probably don't have enough time, probably Gaurav would have filled us in a lot. Netflix, for instance, is a damn good example, though I hate somebody personalizing. In my account, my wife also sees the movie, I am also seeing. We've confused Netflix. Netflix doesn't know what the hell is happening. They don't know how to customize it to me or to my wife.
I just want to combine this question and the previous question. See, they are linked, right, in a way. You're trying to drive loyalty, and you talked about folks who've driven the best loyalty without a loyalty program. Why is that the case? Because they've been able to identify their North Star customer promise. I am Indigo, I will fly on time, land on time. I am Netflix, I am going to provide the best possible customer experience. And then they deliver that at the lowest possible or the best possible cost, right? So it is not a function of, again, these two. And, to your question, the clarity around what I am promising to the customer, that has to be clear. And then you have to go and get that kind of customer. Otherwise, you're saying licious, so I'm going to deliver to you the best quality, chicken, but, it is obviously going to be much more expensive than the guy who sits around the corner, right? So you've got to identify the promise, and for that promise, a segment.
Okay, one last question, and a quick question and a quick answer. So who has the last question? Or we don't have? Okay, very quickly, can somebody take the mic to him? Please keep it short, because we are already 5 minutes out.
Good afternoon, panel. So my question is pertaining to the customer experience. Now, as a demographic shift that you did mention is changing, the future customers, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, will be more conversing into emojis or for that matter stickers. So how do you plan to, read into those thoughts and obviously then curate your customer experiences to them?
Who will take the question? You will? Yep, please.
Yeah, I think your question is how to cater to the more latest generations, right? So when you speak about emojis and things like that, you've gone completely into the chat channel, right? And I think even Gaurav had mentioned about just this need to interact via chat, to order via chat. Everything is becoming conversational, right? And I think a lot of you are hearing this word conversational commerce more and more, and it's just going to keep building up. So exactly that. When the brand is interacting, they even have like a chat identity. Do they want to be funny? Do they want to be formal? Maybe like a bank, when it's interacting on chat, is like super formal, but like more younger brands are just messaging with like emojis, they're giving like jokes, they're allowing for stickers, right? So absolutely brands are adapting and they're really changing their outlook for the more newer generations overall.
Okay guys, I think that's where we will end.